Here is a number that should disturb you. More than half of Americans approaching retirement age have less than $100,000 saved. Not $100,000 invested wisely in a diversified portfolio, $100,000 total in everything. And $100,000 at a modest withdrawal rate lasts approximately 3 years. 3 years. These are not people who didn't work. These are not people who didn't try. These are teachers, nurses, factory workers, office managers, small business owners, people who spent 30 and 40 years showing up, doing their jobs, and doing their best. And yet here they are, standing at the doorstep of the final chapter of their lives, with a financial foundation that most financial experts would describe as a crisis. How does this happen? How does someone spend 40 years working and arrive at retirement with almost nothing? The answer is not laziness, it is not stupidity. It is a combination of forces, financial, psychological, and structural, that most people never fully understood until it was too late to change them. This documentary is about those forces, and about what you can still do right now, while there is still time. Let's talk about a man named Earl. Earl spent 38 years working for the same company. He was a loyal employee, a good father, and by every external measure, a successful man. He owned a home. He raised 3 children. He never went bankrupt. He never made dramatic financial mistakes. When Earl retired at 66, his financial situation looked like this. His retirement account had about $60,000. His Social Security payments came to roughly $1,400 a month. His mortgage was paid off, one genuine financial victory. But his monthly expenses, even after downsizing, came to about $2,800 a month. That left a gap of $1,400 every month that his retirement savings had to cover. At that rate, Earl's $60,000 would last approximately 3.5 years. Earl is 66. He could live another 25 years. He didn't retire broke in a single dramatic moment. He retired broke across 40 years of small, quiet, completely understandable decisions, each one reasonable on its own, devastating in combination. Here is what actually happened to Earl and what is happening to millions of people just like him. Earl saved inconsistently. There were years he contributed to his retirement account and years he didn't, years when the kids needed things, when the car needed replacing, when the house needed fixing, when life simply cost more than expected. Each interruption seemed temporary. Cumulatively, they were catastrophic for his compound growth. Earl never invested aggressively enough. For most of his working life, his retirement savings sat in conservative funds that barely kept pace with inflation. He was afraid of losing money. What he didn't realize was that the quiet erosion of inflation was costing him just as surely as a market crash, just more slowly and invisibly. Earl treated his home as his retirement plan. He assumed that the equity in his home would carry him through retirement if needed. What he didn't fully account for was that home equity is illiquid. It doesn't pay monthly bills unless you sell the house or borrow against it. And selling the family home at 70 to cover living expenses is a position nobody wants to be in. Earl never built any income outside his job. For 38 years, his income came from one source, his employer. When that source ended, his income dropped by more than half overnight. He had no rental income, no investment income, no side business, nothing that kept paying when the paycheck stopped. Why didn't Earl fix this earlier? He was an intelligent man. He understood, in a general way, that retirement required preparation. Why did he wait? 3 reasons. First, the same present bias we have discussed before. Every year that Earl was working, retirement felt abstract and distant. The needs of today, the mortgage, the children, the car, the vacation, felt real and immediate. The needs of retirement felt like someone else's problem. The future, Earl would somehow handle it. Second, complexity avoidance, investing, asset allocation, retirement planning. These topics feel complicated and overwhelming to most people who didn't grow up around them. And so people avoid them, not out of laziness, but out of genuine confusion and intimidation. The complexity becomes a barrier that never gets crossed. Third, false security. Earl felt safe because he owned a home and had a retirement account, even a small one. The presence of those things created a feeling of having done enough, of being on the right track, even when the numbers told a different story. False security is one of the most dangerous financial states a person can be in because it removes the urgency that would otherwise drive action. Earl's consequences are not abstract. They are the daily reality of his life at 68. He cannot afford to do many of the things he planned to do in retirement. Travel is mostly off the table. Helping his grandchildren financially is impossible. A single medical expense of any significant size would be a genuine crisis. He thinks about money every day, not as a source of possibility, but as a source of anxiety. The cruelest part is that Earl did not fail. He worked hard, he raised a family, he stayed out of trouble. But the financial system he navigated for 40 years was never fully explained to him. And the quiet forces working against his retirement savings, inflation, inconsistent contributions, conservative investment, were never made visible enough for him to address them. Earl is not an outlier. He is the median. Here is the hidden truth that nobody teaches in school and most employers never mention. Social Security was never designed to be a retirement plan. It was designed as a supplement, a floor beneath retirement income, not the income itself. But for millions of people, it has become the primary source of retirement income by default, not by design. The average Social Security payment in America is approximately $1,800 a month. The average monthly expenses for a retired couple are significantly higher than that. The gap between what Social Security provides and what retirement actually costs is the financial reality that millions of people are unprepared for, and the gap doesn't close by hoping. It closes by building, specifically by building the additional income sources and savings that Social Security was always intended to supplement, not replace. Earl didn't know this clearly enough, early enough. Most people don't. So what does all of this mean for you, and what can still be done? First, contribute to your retirement account consistently, every single month, no matter what. Not when it's convenient, not when there's money left over. First, before anything else, even small, consistent contributions, maintained over decades, produce results that dwarf large, occasional ones. Consistency is more powerful than amount. Second, invest for growth, not just safety. Money sitting in conservative low-yield accounts loses to inflation quietly and invisibly every year. A properly diversified portfolio, one that includes growth assets appropriate to your age and timeline, is not a gamble. It is a necessity. Fear of losing money in the short term is costing millions of people their retirement security in the long term. Third, stop treating your home as your retirement plan. Home equity is not income. It is an asset that requires selling or borrowing to access. Build retirement savings separately and independently of your housing situation. Fourth, build at least one additional income stream before you retire. It doesn't need to be large. A few $100s a month from a rental property, a dividend account, or a small side income can be the difference between a retirement defined by anxiety and one defined by stability. Fifth, learn what you actually need to retire comfortably, not a vague number. The actual calculation, your expected annual expenses multiplied by the number of years you expect to live, adjusted for inflation and Social Security income. Most people who do this calculation for the first time are shocked, but being shocked at 45 is an opportunity. Being shocked at 65 is a crisis. Earl is 68 now. He manages. He is not destitute, but he is not free. And freedom was what 40 years of work was supposed to buy him. When Earl talks about his working years, he doesn't talk about the years he worked the hardest. He talks about the years he didn't pay attention. The years when the retirement account went unfunded because something else came up. The years when he assumed things would be fine. The years when the urgency wasn't there because retirement felt far away. Those years are gone now, but yours may not be. The forces that retired Earl into anxiety are the same forces operating on your finances right now, quietly, invisibly, and with absolute patience. The question is not whether those forces exist. They do. The question is whether you are going to see them clearly enough, early enough, to do something about them. Because the alternative is not just retiring broke, it is spending the years you worked your entire life to reach, worrying about the same things you worried about at 35. And nobody works 40 years for that.